Hello and welcome to this tutorial-like report about my experience with pieces of software in the process of recording online courses. This video is structured in 3 main topics. The first topic is OBS Studio. It is a recording software available for all 3 major operating systems like Mac OS, Linux and Windows. The second topic is about cutting with Kdenlive. It is an open source software available for all 3 major operating systems, and I will present my workflow with it and possible problems and fixes. The third topic is concerning handwriting on a graphic tablet when I want to write up formulas for a more mathematically oriented course. So let's get started with the first topic, recording with OBS Studio. Why am I using OBS Studio? Because it's free, it's available for all 3 major operating systems. And this second point is very important because although I am using Windows now for recording and cutting, I have actually a dual boot system where I can alternate between using Windows or Linux depending on what I am doing. For me, OBS Studio is self-explaining and really not hard to use, but there are possibly other opinions. Like, for example, on the website of our University Computing Center, OBS Studio is here listed as being for advanced users.
Someone should check their CSS.
And by far the best about OBS Studio is that I can record separate windows simultaneously and put them on the same canvas. So on the same visible space for the viewer. And I can easily alternate between them. On my canvas, I can have the browser window open. I can have my canvas where I am drawing. I can have another browser. I can have my PowerPoint presentation. I can have another webcam. And please don't overdo it. So let's see how I am doing it. I have here 4 different scenes and I can switch between them. I have a button where I can stop and start my recordings. I can also stream to Twitch with this software, for example. And the most important part here in the settings is the output, where you want your videos to be stored. And also very important to set before your recording is the FPS value. This means how many frames per second you are recording. For having a smaller sized video and also very watchable, I recommend 30 frames per second because 60 is a little too much and your video gets too big. I cannot change it now because I'm recording. Here also in the menu I see the audio mixer, where it is perhaps important to adjust the sensitivity or the volume of your microphone. I, for example, will not set it to max because the background noises when I am not speaking, like for example the aquarium, will be recorded and I don't wish that. And the setup is almost complete. I now have only to create these scenes. And as new scene I am creating with plus, I give this scene a name. I just need to add input sources to it. When I switch now to the second scene, you will not see what I'm doing, so I will work on this OBS Studio. I add an input source like my webcam or a browser here through this menu where I can say browser. And already I get here the last window I opened, which is the browser, but I also can select between all windows I have open on my computer. Now that I have set up OBS Studio to show you Kdenlive, I am now switching to the topic of cutting. To cut a video that I have just recorded, all I have to do is to drag the file I just recorded into this project bin view and to switch the profile to the input profile of the original file, which is Full HD as a resolution and 30 frames per second. And now in a couple of seconds I have already loaded my video and I am ready to cut it. For this I just drag and drop it into the timeline, and now I can scroll through this timeline and get the preview here in this area. When I'm hearing it, I see, for example, that here I have made a mistake or a too long pause, and I scroll into this area while holding the control key down and with the mouse wheel. And let's say I want to cut this pause. For that, I'm clicking X and I'm cutting here and here. Now I have this portion of my video that I want to delete. For this, I click S to get out of the cutting tool. I now select this area, click delete, and it's gone. So that was basically it, except I am sometimes also inserting some funny sounds, which also I have just to drag and drop and insert them somewhere in the timeline. And you see, for example, that this sound is really short, so I have to zoom in. And now this sound plays simultaneously with these sounds. Very important to mention for Kdenlive is the problems I had with it, and I still have. The format I want, and also the path where I want my output to be, and I render it, I get then the output of my video. The only problem is that the video and the audio are completely out of sync. This means I'm moving my lips and the audio just doesn't fit to it. I searched on Google and I tried to find some solutions. It's a well-known issue, but the only solution is the following hack. You render the video, render the audio, and then what you basically do is take the software of your choice. I'm using Adobe Premiere Rush. People also use FFmpeg to achieve the same thing. Split from this video the audio and the video. Delete this audio because it doesn't fit to the video. And now what you have to do is to merge those. But the problem with the out of sync is that this video is a little too long. It is, for example, 1.7 seconds too long. So what the software has to do is to squeeze this video such that you get this seconds too much out and get a perfectly synced video with it. But you can possibly see the problem that Kdenlive gives you an output you cannot really work with if you cannot go through this workflow with Adobe Premiere Rush, for example, or you don't want to use FFmpeg from the command line. And this is why I really do not recommend using Kdenlive for other people who are not willing to go through this whole troubleshooting if they have this problem of video and audio out of sync. And now I come to the last part of the video where it is about recording handwritten notes. The graphic tablet I'm using is the so-called Wacuom Intuos tablet. So now I have taken it out of the package and it basically looks like this. You can imagine it as a huge touchpad, but you are using it with a pen. I can connect it to my computer via Bluetooth, but also a USB cable does the same job, comes with the package. And now I have plugged it into my computer via USB. And as I already told before, this thing is basically a huge mousepad which you can use with this pen. And I think this is also the concept that makes it compatible with Linux, because it's basically just another mouse input with a high sensitivity which you can use for handwriting. And just to demonstrate, this touchpad now represents the screen and I can move with this pen through the screen like it would have been a mouse. And now that I have opened here OneNote, which I use for taking notes, for example, if I want to start writing here an equation, I can just start doing it. For doing this beautifully, you need more practice. And you see, I didn't do it here beautifully, so I can just undo. Here on the video, you see that there are two buttons on the pen. These buttons I can map to everything I want, for example, for undo and delete. I didn't do it now, but so I used the interface for undoing. And now I have another go at writing 0. And let's say that this is a better attempt. And now I can go on and solve the equation. I hope you are convinced that this pen has exactly the same sensitivity as my hand has on this pad. So I think this was it. Good luck with preparing your online teaching.